All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the ASP.NET Community Stand-Up, where we discuss the latest updates to .NET web development. I'm Daniel Roth. I'm the Principal Product Manager for ASP.NET Core on the .NET team. And today we've got a whole crew of people joining us today to talk about building web apps with AI. We've got Mike Kistler here, Principal Product Manager on the ASP.NET Core team. Welcome, Mike.
Thanks, Dan. And also PM for SignalR, which is part of the solution that we're going to be talking about today.
Part of what we're looking at today. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we also have Louise here, Senior Product Manager for .NET AI. Hi, Louise.
Hey, folks. Happy to be here. Love when we can sort of cross streams with AI, ASP.NET, and all the technologies we're building.
Awesome. And of course, John Galloway, our superstar celebrity extraordinaire. John, welcome back.
Happy to be here.
And then we have our special guest today, Shaltiel Shmidman is here joining us. And Shaltiel is our AI expert that we're bringing in the big guns to discuss building .NET AI apps. Shaltiel is a deep learning developer at DICTA, the Israel Center for Text Analysis. Shaltiel has over a decade of experience in deep learning and training large language models, particularly in Hebrew. He's passionate about C# and an active contributor to the TorchSharp and ML.NET ecosystems. He's a published researcher and has built products serving hundreds of thousands of users monthly. Shaltiel, it's great to have you with us.
All right, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on here.
So today's topic is building blazing fast AI chat apps with ASP.NET Core and Blazor. Shaltiel, I know you've been working on some projects in this area. And you've had quite a journey, a lot of background in building AI applications with .NET. Can you tell us a little bit about that journey? Like, how did you get started with .NET and AI, and what have you been up to?
All right. Well, I mean, I started .NET was the first language that I started with. I started with C# about 15 years ago. It was like my dad took me out one day and he said, "All right, we're gonna teach you how to code," and we started coding in C#. And that's how I started. So C# is it's my second language. The first language I actually learned was regular expressions. That was for my 12th birthday. My dad took me out and said, "All right, before we teach you coding, we're gonna teach you regular expressions." And then that was the first day of the summer. And the last day of the summer, we went out again to celebrate me finishing the book from O'Reilly on regular expressions. And once I finished, he's like, "All right, now we can teach you C#." So I've been into C# for I've been in C# for as long as I can remember coding. And in 2015, when I started my position at DICTA, we were all about machine learning. It wasn't called AI back then because it wasn't so much of a thing, but it was deep learning, machine learning. And so we started on that back then, and there weren't many libraries available back then. TensorFlow was a thing. PyTorch wasn't yet. PyTorch actually evolved from something called Chainer. If you guys remember, Chainer was a very old library.
I heard that name.
And there was another library called dotnet, which was back then called CNN, and then became PyCNN. It's like it was a whole evolution. And so all the solutions were in Python. And we went out and we started training in Python, and we trained our first model and then our second model. And then once we actually got models that were production ready, we started deploying them on servers, and then we started having to deal with Python as our backend. And personally, I was going crazy. I didn't enjoy the no types and just everything the way Python was built. And so I wanted to get back to C#. So in 2019, I sat down and I said, "Okay, we're taking our entire production code, we're throwing it in the garbage, and we're starting again in .NET with ASP.NET." And to do that, I wrote a wrapper to the .NET library called .NET Sharp. So that was like one of the first dynamic neural network libraries available for C#. It's got, I think, like 20,000 downloads on NuGet now. It's still there. It still kind of works, but everyone's kind of moved on from .NET. And in recent years, .NET kind of became outdated because PyTorch took all the everything away from, PyTorch took all the news, and so we've been redoing our whole infrastructure system with Torch Sharp. I started putting it in, and I realized, well, I need this feature, and now I need this feature, and now I need this feature. So I spent a while contributing to the Torch Sharp repository and getting all the features in, everything I wanted. And so now our whole ecosystem is built off of a combination of Torch Sharp and Onyx, which is what I spoke about in the previous stand-up I was in. And we were talking about Onyx runtime. And so now we have a nice harmony of Onyx and Torch Sharp going on and everything.
That's pretty fantastic. So you've been very active in the .NET AI ecosystem, laying some early foundations, and then participating in the latest efforts. And so most recently, you've been, I hear you've been participating in this, I guess it's the T3 Chat Cloneathon. Is that right?
Yeah. It was actually a spur of the moment thing. I saw, so the T3 is built by a guy named Theo. He's a YouTuber. He's on X. And he, in X's algorithm, brought him onto my feed for like, and I kept seeing his posts every now and then. And then I saw this Cloneathon, and I was like, oh, this looks kind of cool. And I just saw a few of the features that Theo was working on, specifically the resumable streams and the synchronization across tabs. And I was thinking to myself, hey, I wonder how hard it would be to do in .NET. So I was like, all right, let's take on the challenge. And then that's how it started.
So Theo's he's a fairly popular front-end developer, YouTube, and T3, I guess, is his sort of like development stack of choice, like how he likes to build applications. I think he has like a sort of a getting started like tool chain that you can use to do it. I think it's like TypeScript, it's Next.js, Tailwind, I think is in there, Prisma for the data access. Am I missing anything? I feel like I'm missing one of the things in there. Tailwind.
I think yeah, that's
Next Auth.js is his Auth library of choice that I think he uses. So it's a fairly front-end JavaScript tool chain that he uses to build these applications. And I guess he built his own sort of like ChatGPT style thing, or Copilot. Like he built a chat app that he was quite proud of. And then challenged everyone to clone it, to make I think you told me that people were asking for like an open source version to get the code for his chat app, right? And he said, well, I'm not going to provide the code for my app, but if people want to create their own clones, then he would create this. He created this little competition for people to create open source clones of his chat app.
Yeah, so he set it up as a cloneathon, and then he actually put up some of his own personal money as like rewards to add incentives for people to actually create open source versions of T3 Chat.
And then instead of doing this with T3, you said, well, no, I'm just going to do this with .NET. I don't need T3 to do this. I'll use the .NET stack to build the chat app clone. That's pretty cool.
That was my goal. I was like, everyone's going to do it in React or TypeScript and all those, and I'm like, why? I can do it in .NET, and it'd probably be so much more fun and easy to work with.
I guess we should show the T3. This is the actual T3 chat app, right? It's at t3.chat. Is there anything unique or interesting about this application that makes it particularly challenging to clone?
Well, I mean, if you look on his page, he has all these features that he said are optional that I think he supports. His main thing is speed. He optimizes the front end to be very fast, and basically looked at ChatGPT and Claude, and he said, oh, they're too heavy, so he created a very lightweight that's supposed to be very smooth. And one of the things he likes is, one of the things he mentioned recently is this big thing. He moved to a DB called Convex, which allows real-time streaming and allows him to synchronize. So if he has like the same chat open in 2 tabs and he asks a question, it'll automatically sync. Like, sometimes I have 2 ChatGPT windows open, and I start a conversation in one, and then I continue it in the other, and then it's not updated on the first kind of style. So that's I think one of the big things that he recently worked on.
Okay, so sort of this resuming of the stream, so you don't kind of lose the context just because you switch from one tab to the other. Yeah, that does sound a little potentially challenging. Okay, so that makes sense. And so, do you want to show us what you built, like what you did here? Let me stop showing my screen.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. So
there you go.
So I'll just start by talking about the here, just on here, let me pull it up. So this is the repo. It's open source. It's all here. My big thing was I wanted to I approached Theo after like he said it, and I was like, I wonder what's a good name for it. And I said, hey, do you mind if I call it not T3 Chat? Because one of his conditions is making sure that everyone's clear that it's not actually T3 Chat. So I took it quite literally. This here is a joke. This is the fake milk bottles. They call it this is not milk. So I just copied the logo in. And so it's all open source, and the main thing I did was the resumable streams, and so I can actually show it live here. So I'm running it locally, and so I have it open in 2 windows here. You can see I have my different chats. I can start a new chat and write hi, and you can see it is synchronized on both sides. They got the title right away. Both windows now have it. And I added basic features like, you can do branching. So I said, let's play a guessing game where you give words. And so now I like this example because Gemini gave me cold, wet, hard as a few words. So I said, but give up, what is it? So now I can branch out and ask, okay, is it ice? And now you can see it branched it out over here, and it gave us the response synchronized. And it works also resumable. So you can say, okay, give me a story about 3 guys trying out Aspire in .NET and the struggles and how awesome it was when they finished. And so it's going to start thinking, and I can go here, and I can go to a different chat. This can go to a different chat, and it's still going, and it's completely synchronized across the tabs. And now I can even like say here, let's start it off with a new model. And then I can go here and ask you to regenerate, and it's all just synchronized, and allows you to really like work on it without having to worry too much about did I open it in this tab? Did I open it in this tab? It's all like it's very smooth. So this was what I built. It's not too polished. It's mostly just get something working and get this cool feature of
Was it hard? Like how difficult was it to build this?
So that's a great question. So it ended up taking a bunch of hours to get to this stage, but the main part of just getting the streaming working, that was a couple hours work, and I got it done. Should we look at what a minimal code looks like? What it looked like?
Sure.
So here, let me pull it up. So
was it a couple hours though with like GitHub Copilot, where you like basically said, GitHub Copilot, please create me a clone of T3 Chat, and it wrote all the code for you?
Kind of. The front end was. For the front end, I was like, I'm not dealing with UI. This is like, it's most of the weight is on the back end. So I actually just had Claude Code. I said, hey, I need a chat app. These are my endpoints. Just build me something pretty. And so I actually had to generate something new for this demo, that shows like the different stages that I went through in development. So this is actually the code that just does it well. You can see it's 63 lines.
Before we jump into the code, what is that weird syntax at the top?
So that's a great question. This is new .NET 10 preview. This is the big thing in .NET, or at least that I've seen a lot of talk about, is that you don't need a project file. There is no project file. This is the entire code. It's like a Python style. It's all we need here is like you specify SDK, you specify what package you want, and then that's it. You just run it. We can actually let's even try running it right now. Here you can see in the directory there are 2 files. There's app.cs and app2.cs. That's all we got. .NET run, and here we go. It's compiling it, building it, and here we go. We got a web app for chat streaming, 60 lines of code. That's it, nothing else.
Scroll back up in the console a little bit so that people can see the .NET run command. So notice like that's .NET run and then just pointing at a C# file. So it's not .NET run like a whole project. He's just pointing at a single C# file and say, you are my entire app. please run. And then that new syntax at the top is just a little bit of metadata for stuff that you would normally put in your project file. Like, do you have any package references, or do you want to send any MS build properties? You can just add that into the C# file. And so you get a .NET run, a C# file, and you're done. New feature in .NET 10. I think there's actually a nice blog post that went out about the new support. So if folks have missed that, I can pull that up and make sure people are aware. That's great. Awesome.
Yeah. So this is like when I built it, I was like, if I'm going to build it, I want to make it minimal. I want to just show how easy it is to do. And so I was like, all right, so if we're doing this, we're doing it in .NET 10 with the one-liner and just run app.cs. And all in all, the code is very, very simple. I use a library called LLM Tornado. I happened to notice it while I was just looking at .NET libraries. It's like, okay, I'm gonna use this library for this library for that, and LM Tornado is a library that just allows you to. It has the infrastructure for trying out all the different providers, or at least the big ones, OpenAI, Anthropic, and just use them all in. And since one of the requirements for T3 Chat was at least 2 model providers, so I was like, okay, this guy has it done. Later, I found out there's a Microsoft solution for this that Louise was telling me about.
Yeah, Microsoft Extensions AI is a platform abstraction for interacting with AI services using a common set of interfaces, common set of abstractions, which does very similar things to what LM Tornado, I think, is doing. Although I think LM Tornado kind of, it moves faster. It has a little bit more. I don't know, Louise. How would you compare them? You're probably.
Yeah, no, I would actually say that, from an LM Tornado perspective, right, it's really great what the team has done. And I think, well, I say team, but I think it's literally one person. it's a one-person job here. And yeah, so like with MEAI, right, Extensions AI, that's short for Microsoft Extensions.ai, we're trying to look at these types of solutions, right? We love that the community is going out and they're building, these different solutions for different AI sort of scenarios, right? And so with Extensions AI, what we're trying to do is we're trying to provide that base layer that provides the functionality, some of the functionality that LM Tornado is doing, right? Where you can swap out providers, you have common sort of set of like logging and cross-cutting concerns like with the telemetry. And so then, libraries like LM Tornado can then just build on top of it, right? And provide some really, really nice functionality that is standard and plug and play with the rest of the ecosystem. And I believe LM Tornado is already, which, Mike is also, I don't know if you mentioned, but is also the PM for, they're using MCP, which that's using Extensions AI and part of the ecosystem, right? So again, we're just trying to help build this ecosystem. And, it's really great that libraries like LM Tornado are using some of the components, out there that also plug and play with our existing offerings.
Nice. Yeah. So definitely a library worth checking out. And also, check out the Microsoft Extensions AI as well. I mean, as a platform piece, obviously it moves a little bit slower because we want to make sure that as we add abstractions that they, are a good fit and that they will have a good long life with the AI ecosystem. And the AI ecosystem is moving pretty quick right now. I think LLM Tornado is more sort of riding that the edge of the wave than what we're currently doing with Microsoft Extensions AI. But we keep moving the platform forward as those patterns become more and more clear. So great stuff. Definitely a library worth checking out. Shaltiel, you mentioned for the front end that you mostly generated that. So what is the front end implemented in? Like, how did you?
It's a React with Vite, the Vite builder, and it's I personally enjoy using the Material UI for components. So I instruct the Claude to use MUI and use all these other rules that I built, and it's mostly just that it's React with MUI and Vite, and I didn't put too much work on it on my own. It's mostly just, hey Claude, do this, do this, do this. Then I go over and make sure everything runs and find all these, these circular loops that it kind of like generated and fix those.
So React, Vite, Material UI on the front end, largely generated using AI. Did you consider using Blazor for the front end as a front end offering in C#?
So I thought about it. Actually, my brother, who's I think listening in here, he was a big advocate for Blazor. He's like, you should have just done it in Blazor. It's got SignalR built in. Like, you should just do it. And at that point, Claude Code was already halfway through building my site. So I was like, all right, so for next time, I'll work on Blazor.
The next one will be Blazor. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we can handle that. I mean, lots of people obviously with building ASP.NET Core based applications are using front-end JavaScript for their front ends. It's very, very common. And both patterns are obviously supported. Like, not every .NET web app has to be Blazor. And in fact, many apps using front-end JavaScript might even be a better fit if you're particularly trying to optimize for every millisecond of initial load time performance, those types of things. You mentioned SignalR. For the back end for this, it's using SignalR, correct? Like the front end is speaking to a SignalR hub. Yeah.
So the code is, so you see here the first the top. This is the whole like what would be in program.cs here. It's just it's like these 15 lines. Here I specify I add the SignalR, and then over here I just say map the hub to the chat hub. And then that's pretty much it. That's the whole thing. So if we go to the implementation, it's also extremely simple. Here you initialize the chat hub. I have the streaming service which sends the call to the LLM and streams it back. And then I say a new message. I get a new message. I'm like, okay, so let's tell all the clients that there's a user message. So they're all synchronized. Then I say, okay, now we're streaming, and then that's it. And that's the whole streaming thing. And then in the actual streaming code here, I initialize our Tornado API with the OpenAI API key that I provided. And then I actually create a new scope here because I want to, in order to the hub scope will end when the message ends. So I want to be able to have multiple, I needed to create a new scope to outlive the chat hub scope so that the message keeps streaming even after the connection, even if the connection disconnects or if for some reason the scope ends. And then it's very simple. I create a conversation. I tell what model I want. I say, okay, here's the input from the user. And then I say stream response. And for every response, I tell the hub, here, send out a new assistant part for this conversation. And then I tell them the messages end. And that's our entire code.
How many lines of code is it total? It's like about 50, 60? Yeah, 63.
63 with blank lines and curly braces. And then, of course, with the usings and the headers. And so just to show you how that this actually works is I set up a new UI that works just for this specific code to demonstrate it. And so
the original, not T3 Chat.
Correct. The original before got polished up with the user. And so here, let's duplicate the tab so that we have it running with Windows. And this is like a very, very bare bones chat assistant. There's no user. There's no storing the chats. You don't pick the models. This is all just to show like the streaming effect. So hi, and you can see it's synchronized on both of them today. All right. Tell me a joke. And then you can even say, write me a story. All right, and then it's going to run, and then you just refresh. So here we don't have the resuming working yet because we just got the streaming working, but it works on multiple of them at a time. And you can see here that it, if we send a new message once this ends, it'll work. Or we can refresh, and then. So this was the first go at it. But the problem was that it didn't actually store the history. So let's say I said hi, always respond ba. Right? So now, but then if I say hey again, it doesn't have any history because we're only giving it that one message in the context. So at that point, I'm like, okay, so that required a little bit more work. And so then I improved it to include the resuming and the history. So now we're up to like 115 lines total here. There weren't that many things that needed to be changed. I added some memory cache to store the history in. And then in the memory service, then building the conversation with the chat was pretty simple. Instead of just doing that append one user input, I just append all the different inputs one at a time. and I stream it in. There was like a little bit of trick that needed to go in to get the resuming going, but we're still talking about like 115 lines, with the history. And so if we go back to the pages now, there should be I wanted to add here a show the clear button. So now I want to add it a little clear. So now we can go high, and it's going to load it in. We can say always respond with ba. And then if you go high again, or okay, well I guess it's not going to listen to me. Supposed to respond ba.
Misbehaving AI.
Yeah, misbehaving. Well, maybe. Oh, well, that's why. Because I didn't rerun it with the app 2.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue. Yeah.
So that as you watch the text come streaming in, like you're getting the response from the AI service, and then I assume you're using SignalR to stream that content down to the JavaScript client, and then the JavaScript client is rendering. You mentioned that your brother was suggesting using Blazor, and that it has SignalR already included. When you write this pattern in Blazor, one of the nice things that you get is on the server you're running your Blazor component, and so you're getting the content from the service, and then you just render the updates, and Blazor takes care of that part of actually pushing the updates down to the browser by just re-rendering the component basically as updates come in. So that's one of the nice things actually about using the Blazor server model for this style of app, is that getting that streaming rendering style of UI experience is actually pretty natural in Blazor.
Yeah. So now we know for next time. I should have just done that. But here, now that we reran it, we can say, "Hey, respond only with." All right, and then you can say, "Hey," and now it remembers because the history is there. And it's fully synchronized. I clicked clear. It's a different browser. It's not like I resharing the same screen.
So that's chat history, right? That's like basically keeping track of all the chat messages that you've already sent to the AI service and making sure you resend them again, right? When you do an interaction. And I know, Louise, when you use like Microsoft Extensions AI, like isn't there like built-in APIs and abstractions for dealing with chat history? Like isn't there like a notion of like I want to keep track of the whole series of chat messages that I've had, so that when you're building apps like this, you can get experiences of this sort?
Yeah, there is definitely a standard representation for what chat messages, different chat content, right? Because here we're mostly seeing text, but there's other types of contents that model handles, like images and all sorts of other complex types. So again, we have a standard representation, and libraries like Semantic Kernel have additional utilities on top of that, right? That can, for example, do things like summarization and truncation, like because these models have like a limited context size, right? So you can't be sending literally the entire chat every time. At some point, you're gonna have to like summarize or shorten it or do something with that chat history, right? So yeah, with a combination of, for example, like standard message representations and libraries like Semantic Kernel, right, you can really like efficiently, manage and sort of like work with your chat history.
That's actually good library to mention. I know there was someone that mentioned Semantic Kernel in the chat as well. Do you want to just give a quick overview, Louise, about what is Semantic Kernel? How does it relate to Microsoft Extensions AI? Like what's this library?
Yeah, absolutely. So Semantic Kernel, it's a set of libraries, right, for enabling you to work with AI. So like right around when this sort of AI, generative AI specifically, waves started coming out, right? Semantic Kernel really focused on enabling you to do things like chatting with different language models, working with different type of memory and vector storage, right? So they really provide sort of a holistic set of libraries for you to build generative AI applications. So again, examples of that include managing your chat history. They have subtext truncation and chunking sort of utilities. Most recently, some of the things that the team has really been focusing on is agents, right? As folks are, we're entering this next wave of AI with agents. Semantic Kernel is really focusing on enabling those types of scenarios through their SDKs, right? And Semantic Kernel works with Python, .NET, right? And in the context of .NET, a lot of the the libraries that they provide are actually building on top of extensions.ai. Right? So going back to that extensibility model where, because with extensions.ai, we're providing standard set of interfaces and exchange types, libraries like semantic kernel, like LM Tornado, like MCP, right, can just plug and play and interrupt because there's a standard sort of language that all these applications and libraries talk.
And I think when like a semantic kernel in some sense was one of the original libraries that was trying to provide abstractions across multiple AI services. Is it fair to say that they were kind of the original inspiration or some of the laying the original ideas for Microsoft Extensions AI?
Yeah, we did work very closely because, and even to this day, right, they provide a lot of the connectors for a lot of, and for agents today, right, they provide different, because, there's not just one agent type, there's many different agent solutions out there. And so semantic kernel aimed to sort of be that glue that it's like, hey, it doesn't matter what you're using, you can just bring it in. And then, you can use with whatever it is that you're most productive in, right? And so to your point, Dan, right, like Extensions AI kind of grew out of some of that early work that semantic kernel pioneered in.
And then they actually, do they now build on top of Microsoft Extensions AI? Did they platted on top of those lower level abstractions?
Yeah, they do. And there's actually I think a blog post that we wrote right when Extensions AI went GA, exactly of all the work that has been done and continues to be done, right, to make sure that those experiences are seamless.
Awesome. All right, cool. Thanks. Cool. Okay. So this all makes sense. Yeah. Shaltiel, any what else with any other interesting implementation details of the application that you want to show?
Yeah. So so this is actually so like this is like the minimal code to get it running. I managed to get the streaming running. But one of the few things, actually, I'm gonna pull up the actual the code that I actually submitted, which is a little more polished. It also includes logging and.
We're getting serious now because we just switched to Visual Studio. Like this is getting real.
Well, yeah, I can't actually I use Visual Studio for any time I need to really real production code. The smooth, it's so fast and so snappy. No other editor I feel like can keep up with how fast I want to code and get the IntelliSense there. But Visual Studio has been number one for years.
Real quick before we jump in, because I think we may have just kind of or maybe we can get to it later. But one of the things that you sort of talked about, earlier was how did you actually write any of your front end code?
Very, very little. Very little of it.
Okay, so it sounds like you were using AI to kind of vibe code your solutions here.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, most of the complexity was on the back end, getting it in. Once the back end was good, and and I find that using AI just to build your whole app is going to be a failure and not going to scale, and it's gonna cause a lot of issues. So I do very little AI in my backends. I actually did use. I saw Bruno's stream recently where he showed that Visual Studio actually integrated GitHub Copilot into Visual Studio. So I love using it. So the thing I used it for was logs. I said, okay, I have a full working backend with no logging whatsoever. Fix it, and then it goes through every line and make sure there's a relevant log line. So it's very convenient there. But once I actually built a structured system and I said, okay, here are the endpoints that can be called. Here's the logic. Once I thought it out, I was able to tell the AI, here's the front end the way I like it. Build these components, and this is how interacts with the back end. And once I was very specific on this is this is how it's supposed to work, then it does a perfect job and just goes for it. And I'm like, okay, yeah, do whatever you want, as long as you follow my rules, and it's pretty good.
So most of your backends are artisan, handcrafted, Shaltiel works of art. But for the tedium, things that you don't want to have to go through and manually do yourself, then you throw that to GitHub Copilot to handle for you. For folks who aren't familiar with the AI community stand-up, the .NET AI community stand-up, there is a separate stand-up where folks, I think it's Bruno, and I think Louise, you come on there fairly regularly, show new updates and progress in the .NET AI ecosystem. I'll include a link to that community stand-up in the URL list for this stand-up for folks that are interested in watching those. All right. So what's in the in this the VS?
So I wanted to point out two really cool things. So first of all, I was able to add login authentication by just simply adding in the solution here. I just added the Microsoft aspnetcore identity with EF Core. And then really all I needed to do was these lines, and that's it. That's all I had. That's all I needed to do to get authentication going with the register and this login. So, it was also it lets you configure everything. So I specified what I want about that with the cookies and the identity options for the password. I was very, very lenient here. I was like, I don't really care. Don't require a digit, no numeric, no lowercase, no uppercase, just like, so people can put in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I was like very throw it in there. And then for the actual chat endpoints, all I had to do was just add this .require authorization at the end. That's what?
Thanks, John. Yeah. Don't worry, Shaltiel. In .NET 10, you can use the new passkey support, so people don't have to type in passwords anymore. So that'll help.
Okay. That's actually really helpful. But yeah, so all I had to do is .require authorization, and now everything's protected behind an endpoint. So it was very convenient.
Yeah.
And so what I wanted to mention, the two things I wanted to mention were with SignalR. And if you actually saw in not T3 Chat, in the demo I showed, there are actually a lot of different conversations going on at the same time. There are a whole bunch of you have two chats and you have all these conversations, and we don't want someone who's on conversation A to constantly get all those updates from conversation B, because that can overload the browser and just it's unneeded latency. And so ChatUp actually makes it so easy that I can choose. I choose a chat, and so for example, with new chat, so I have each user's ID is now I have these groups in SignalR that I can put the users into, and so if for example here I want all the users in group A, all the users each user have their group. So when there's a new chat, I can send out a new chat update to everyone. And when I delete the chat or when there's a new title, I want all the instances of this user's interface to get it. But also for choose chat, I can easily say, okay, here, take this client and add him to the group of this conversation ID. And now when I stream, all I need to do is, wherever it is, it's got a little busier. Here in the start streaming, I just go to the hub context clients. I go the group of this conversation ID, and I send the new instance in part. And I don't actually have to manage which connection I'm sending which update to. It's all SignalR just kind of has it all wrapped up in one. So that's one really, really convenient thing of SignalR here. I just say, okay, you pick this chat. All right, now you're in this group. You're in this chat. Okay, now you're in this group. Just move them around, and everything else happens automatically. The other thing was the LLM Tornado. So I wanted to show the Tornado service it was. I just wanted to show how easy it is to actually access all the authentications. I just say, okay, let's go through all these keys and add these authentications, and I add all the models in. And here I say, okay, for this vendor, copy in all the models, and that's all I need to do. And now when I create the conversation, it's the same thing. It knows to pull the right vendors. It's a very all-in-one solution saying, okay, we're just going to add authentication for Google, OpenAI, and DeepSeek, for example. Put all three into this one Tornado API object, and then it just goes, and you don't have to think about it.
This is really useful for cases where you want to let the user pick which model that they actually want to interact with, which T3 Chat does,
exactly.
And so does not T3 Chat. Yeah, that is nice.
Yeah,
and it's quite a list of providers that it supports.
Yeah, and you can also create your own with all the OpenAI compatible ones. It's you just add on top of it.
Now, I know when we were talking about your work on not T3 Chat, we mentioned that we actually do have a project template in the .NET ecosystem for helping people build chat apps using .NET that are powered by AI. I think you said that at the time that wasn't something you even were aware of and hadn't had a chance to use.
Yeah.
So
I have no idea.
We thought, well, there might be some other people on the call on the live stream who might not have seen it either. We showed it, I think, once or twice either on this stand-up or on other stand-ups. But for people who have missed it, we thought we would do a quick demo also to show how, if you want to build your own .NET Chat UI using AI, there's actually a template that can help you get started with it. John, do you want to do a quick demo of that to show us what that looks like?
I do. I'm having some exciting times with my computer this morning. It is like buffering and doing things, so we'll see how well it goes.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we'll give it a try.
So let me see. I will. Let's add me to the screen here. Okay. So step one is you need to install the templates. That's .NET New Install Microsoft Extensions AI Templates. We have a doc that walks you through all this. So the main thing that it does, there's actually 2 templates, and I'll show you what that looks like. So if you are doing create a new project, and when you select AI up here, after doing that .NET New Install, there's AI Web Chat, which is what I'm going to show you now. There's actually a brand new one, which is this MCP server template.
Nice.
So Mike, Luis, other folks that have been involved in this is really cool because it works off of new features in .NET 10 SDK to allow DNX to basically execute a NuGet package. And it's like got integration off of the NuGet UI and everything. But so here, I'm going to show you what this looks like, and then I'll jump to one where I've actually configured stuff. So here, okay, fine. This is Chat App 7. And then I'm going to say there's some options here. So one is that when you are creating a new, it's very common, you're going to want some AI backend, of course, for an AI application. So there's different options you've got here. So as you're getting started, the completely free option is to use Ollama. Ollama runs on your computer, and you do need a beefy computer with a pretty good GPU in order to do that. Then as you kind of move up, you can use GitHub Models. GitHub Models is awesome. It gives you access to all kinds of advanced models. The one thing is it is really intended for development, and you get a token limit per day. And then as you move more into production, you could go off of Azure OpenAI or OpenAI platform. The neat thing with this is, as Dan pointed out earlier, is that this is built using the Microsoft extensions for AI, which gives you a common interface for all of them. So your code doesn't change as you move between these. You just basically go into your configuration and say, no, don't point at that endpoint, point at this endpoint, for the most part. Now, you're able to kind of make specific things and say, I know I'm running on this, take advantage of this. But and Luis, you correct me if I'm wrong here, but for the most part, it's basically common abstractions across all of them. So one other neat feature here is this use Aspire orchestration. And what's awesome about that is when you're building these applications, they're distributed apps. You've got your front end, you've got your back end, but you also have your resources. And here, I'm going to want a vector store, and we give you a very, very simple one as an option, but it's like the worst option possible, basically. This is JSON files on disk. So this is, hey, I want to, like store my information. I'm in our example, we're going to ingest PDF data and query and chat with data that's in these PDF files. So we give the option of using on disk, but a much better one is to use Quadrant. Quadrant is really cool. It can run in Docker, and we're doing that here using Aspire. And then you also, as you move up into deploying to production, Azure AI Search. They all have trade-offs. Quadrant, there's actually can be hosted in production as well. Azure AI Search, of course, gives you all the great like it works with your Azure resources and all that stuff. So that's pretty cool.
For folks who might be like me, who were originally wondering, like, why would I want a vector store? What's the vector store for? This is for when you have you have the chat interface, but then you want to be able to ask the chat, the AI agent about topics that are like in your data, like you have your database or you have files that you want to be able to ask it about. A vector store is where you can sort of shred that data and put it in a particular format in these vectors. that make it these embeddings that make it easy for you to then figure out, well, given what the user just asked me in chat, pull in the related data for that from this database, from the vector store. And the vector stores are really optimized for that style of chat interfaces where you want to be able to pull in some extra data that you can ask questions about.
Yep, exactly. So, and the way to think about this is a large language model is generalized information. It was trained at a period of time. It doesn't know anything about your company's custom data or your PDF files or whatever, right? And so being able to say, hey, LLM, it's a database, it's a vector data, but it's data that's been kind of pre-digested into vectors that can be queried, you can look at similarity search, you can say, group these things, you can do all kinds of semantic reasoning over them, and LLMs can work directly with them. You can see here Visual Studio is freezing up. So I'm basically, in order to run this,
ultralight mode, John, the ultralight
yes,
mode.
super light. What you can kind of see here, this is the app host, and this is pulling together this vector data, so this vector database, and then it's also composing in, it's pulling in my connection string, which is my Azure my OpenAI endpoint. I actually have mine configured using user secrets to point to GitHub models, but that's kind of where that's pointing. So again, the neat thing here is it's standard Aspire. You can go in and you can change anything you want with it. But it's pretty cool that things are just kind of the same amongst all of these different ones. So fortunately, I already have this thing running and kind of running. And I'll show you, here's like the resources that it brings up. So I think it'll show a graph. It's kind of in this weird in-between state. So, but the basic thing is it runs a vector database through Aspire, and then it also runs a chat interface. And when I was trying to run this before, it was timing out. Again, I think like something's weird because it's actually hosting the stuff in Docker and it's trying to stream on the live stream and everything. But basically what you get to out of this is a chat interface, and you can query, you can ask it stuff. So when the application starts up, it ingests PDFs. We've got 2 or 3 PDFs that are in your web app, and it goes through and it says, shred this information into vectors, put it in the vector store, and then you can chat with it. So the neat things about this, you can walk through this this thing in 10 minutes, maybe. It's like install the templates, file new project, and then run it, and it will, you get a vector database, and you also have, it's very easy to point at GitHub models. So it looks like this is not running, but it's pretty cool to be able to say, hey, what's the information here? I had a demo that I did at Build where I just went onto the Build website and I found the maps for the Build venue. And I didn't do anything with them. I just dropped them in the thing and ran the app. And then I'm like, where's the coffee? And it was like, there's a coffee kiosk on level 3. There's blah, blah, blah. So it's really pretty neat. And then you can also say, like, based on today's if I am scared of heights, what should I blah, blah, blah. And it'll integrate, right? So the general information comes from the large language model, and then your specialized information comes from your vector database. So I don't know. So Visual Studio has crashed on me there, but basically what you'll get out of this is I
think John's video is freezing up on us.
I'll see if it comes
okay.
back.
I think,
it's pretty cool because, here it is. All right.
Sorry about the lag, folks. I know we're
all right.
There, we can see your screen now, John. We see the code.
Yeah. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so it's running Dockerized stuff. And then I think also my computer's running Windows Update today, which is awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, neat. Okay. So just some things to see in this. It's in the web application itself. It does some stuff where it creates. So here it's creating the AI backend. It's also creating an embedding model. That's what's used to do that kind of processing of the PDFs. There's a service that's in here that does ingests some stuff. So basically the ingested document, it goes through and it converts it. And this is actually part of, there's Microsoft extensions for AI. There's common interfaces. There's also vector data. So this is all these attributes, the word I'm looking for. And the attributes basically say, it's very similar to like entity framework attributes, right? Where you say this is an email address or this is a data annotation sort of thing. This is where you attribute your model and say, well, this is index, this is a vector store, this is, you give it these very nerdy, vector attributes there. So as it starts up, it goes through and it ingests the data, and then it can actually do semantic search against that. And then the one other thing I want to show here is in the application, if I go into the chat, so the chat itself injects in this semantic search and this iChat client. That is the magic here, is Microsoft Extensions for AI uses that iChat client. So in my Blazor app down at the end, I basically tell it, I give it a system prompt, and then I say, basically go and process stuff. This add messages is to add the history of our chat. And then we basically just say, go get the information and chat with it. So it's pretty cool in how you basically do your interaction with it. And yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So this is a Blazor front end, Microsoft Extensions AI for the AI abstractions for interacting with the AI service, and then it's also augmented with called retrieval augmented generation, right? You're pulling in data from some external store, some vector store, where you've put in like a bunch of PDF files or whatever your data is that you can then ask questions about in a natural chat interface. So some additional features there beyond what Shaltiel showed us, but also like Shaltiel, I think also showed us like in his app, he has like model selection, like you're picking the model for the interaction while you're using it. Whereas with the .NET Chat UI template, you're basically picking the model up front to say, well, this is the model I'm going to use. If you want to switch it later, you can, but that becomes more of an exercise to the user. So that's really nice.
I mean, it kind of does. The way this is set up, yeah, you're picking one. You definitely can, though, as you go in, you could inject multiple AI,
build your own UI where you like let the user pick which one they want to use. You could add that to this template if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, and this is a thing where, we always struggle with the balance of like, hey, we don't want to just create a toy. We want to create something useful, but we also don't want to throw everything at you. We want it to be understandable. So kind of balance it. So
that's great. And then aspire to glue it all together, right? Like to give you a view of your app, the AI service that you're integrating with, and also the vector store database that you're integrating with. Like Aspire basically helps connect all those pieces together into a single modeled application. So for folks who haven't tried that out, I encourage you to, you can just install the template like John showed. We'll have the link to the docs in the URL list. So if you want to go through that tutorial to build one of these apps yourself, hopefully you won't have some of the issues that John was hitting on his machine with all the preview bits that I know John's got installed. John, if people want to learn more about getting started with .NET and AI, where would you point them to? I
would recommend that Quick Start is kind of the best first thing. And there's, AI for .NET developers in the doc. I think it's kind of this is where you're going to find the main stuff. And then, of course, on the .NET blog, we're continuing to release them.
Cool. Thank you, John. That's great. I know we have a few questions that people have been asking in the chat that I want to see if we can get to a couple of those. Shaltiel, just going to be a bit rapid fire. And if you don't know some of these, that's totally fine. But Someone asked if if your app would support native AOT. Like, can you native AOT the not T3 Chat application? I was trying to think through that myself. If there was anything in there that was not native AOTable. I don't know if LLM Tornado supports native AOT.
So I think when I ran it without AOT off, so it crashed on the SignalR, deserializing the arguments from the WebSockets transport into the actual parameters. It's definitely fixable, if you define the you generated code to get the parsing. But it wasn't I just drop in. It does require a little bit of work to get it done with AOT.
Tweaking. I think we do have native AOT support for SignalR, so that part should be doable, like you said. If you maybe need to adjust some things. Mike?
I think Shaltiel's right. You just have to have the extra serialization configuration set up for anything that you want to serialize. Yep.
And then someone asked about what sort of things should we consider when deciding between Microsoft Extensions AI and semantic kernel. And then we've also talked about LLM Tornado here. I don't know who wants to take this one. Louise, you wanna take a crack?
Yeah, I could take this one. I think it's not really an either or. It's really like at what layer of the stack you're working at. Like, for example, if you're a library author or an ecosystem author, right, you definitely want to target Extensions AI, right? Because that's the thing that gives you the common abstraction for with models, vector stores, and all things, right? And a perfect example of that are, things like semantic kernel, which builds on top of it, right? They're providing the higher level abstractions and libraries, and those are backed by Extensions AI. So I wouldn't see this as an either or. It just depends which layer you're working at.
Great, thank you. Will semantic kernel utilize MCP? Does anyone know about the state of MCP and semantic kernel? Mike, maybe you have some insights into this. I know you work in this space.
I believe that is already there. That semantic kernel can utilize MCP. That you can add MCP servers into semantic kernel.
Cool. Okay, so might already be available there.
Yep.
Someone asked about integrating LangChain into .NET applications. I know, Shaltiel, you talked a lot about how it's really nice to operate within the .NET ecosystem, but sometimes people do want to actually use some Python code with their .NET applications. Could you potentially use both together? Would that be a thing?
So I did see a recent library that did talk about using Python within. I don't remember what it was called. Personally, I think that I don't have like an answer offhand. I try to be pure either way. Whatever way I go, I prefer to be pure. And if there's something that needs to be re-implemented, so I re-implement it myself. So hard to say.
I know the Aspire team has done a bunch of work to enable these polyglot scenarios where if you want to have like a mix of .NET processes and then JavaScript processes, Python processes in your application, they have ways to model that in the Aspire system. So I would take a look at that if you're looking at integrating, having some Python alongside your .NET application. That's absolutely doable, and the Aspire team has some really nice samples and documentation on how to set that up. One last one is I wonder why there's no it's not created a good GUI front end for C# for doing AI. And I guess for that, I would point you to the chat UI template that we just saw. Like that includes a Blazor implementation of a chat UI component that you can just use. It's there for you to customize and modify. So that would be one piece that you could leverage. There are also other AI chat components available from the component ecosystem like Telerik and Syncfusion and DevExpress and Infragistics. All these companies do have their own set of AI related chat components that you can leverage in your products. And for that, I know we're at time. I just wanted to ask Shaltiel one more question. Like, you've built not T3 Chat. What's next? What does the future hold for you? And what do you think the future holds for .NET and AI?
Well, I mean, I see .NET and AI only getting bigger as people, as the world kind of is adopting to using .NET, as people are adopting to using LLMs and machine learning in real production environments. The problem is kind of pivoting from an AI problem to more of a distributed systems problem, getting everything running with the agents. So I do see a lot. I do see a lot of future in .NET, because .NET with distributed systems, they're like, it's not even a competition, in my opinion, with other frameworks. So I think that there's a lot there. Me personally, I'm out there training LLMs for Hebrew, and I'm actually planning on taking this not T3 chat and turning it into some production use case for our new models.
Nice. So you
Nice.
can speak, chat with it in Hebrew and get really excellent responses back from it.
Yeah, we just paired up with NVIDIA. Jensen actually announced our partnership at GTC Paris for his Sovereign AI project, where they're building custom. They're partnering with AI builders throughout Europe to build local and culturally aware LLMs for every country. And so they picked us to do it in Hebrew. And we're actively working in DGX Cloud and their partners to get this through.
Wonderful. All right. Very cool. Well, we look forward to hearing more from you and your .NET AI adventures and efforts. Thank you for joining us today, Shaltiel, and sharing your work with us. If folks are interested in the Not T3 Chat project repo and the implementation, we'll include that in the URL list as well, of course, so you can take a look at his code, as well as all the other things we discussed today, like the Chat UI template, LLM Tornado. We'll include all those links there as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on this week's ASP.NET Community Stand-Up. We'll be back next week, so be sure to tune in. And with that, go and have fun building your next AI app using .NET. Thanks, everyone.